William Waldegrave, and I was president in the summer term of 1968. I think she came to the Union partly by a bit of luck. My sister, Lady Susan Hussey, was her lady-in-waiting, and she might have suggested, my brother is the president of the Union, and he'd love it if you called in there. So it may have been a bit of luck, or as others would say, a bit of terrible networking. It was always difficult to tell what the late great Queen was thinking, but she enjoyed herself, I think. There were two incidents that stick in the mind. As often, royal weather, she had bad luck. It was pouring with rain. So I had to walk with her across from the main Union building to the debating hall, and I had an umbrella which I held over her. She took it out of my hand, saying, "When people hold umbrellas over you, it always runs down the back of your neck. I will hold the umbrella." So a picture was broadcast around the world of the Queen holding an umbrella over me, and you can imagine disgusted of Tunbridge Wells taking to that. So I got a bit of a trouble from that. The other thing was, this was the middle of serious protest about the Vietnam War, student protest all over the place. So we didn't quite know how it was going to go, where there were going to be demonstrations, where there were going to be trouble. I had taken the precaution of finding some very monarchist, loyal American Rhodes Scholars to sit immediately behind her in case there was any trouble, and they were longing for trouble, but there wasn't any. The Union is a somewhat self-regarding place with all its strengths, and we all love it. It gave a huge cheer, partly for the Queen and partly for itself, because here were we in the Oxford Union with Her Majesty the Queen, so we were very pleased with ourselves. I think she didn't mind my Bob Dylan-style hair. I have a picture of myself later shaking hands with Mao Zedong, whom I met when I was Mr. Heath's private secretary in Beijing, and he is looking at my hair with a much more suspicious look than ever Her Majesty did, I have to say. This was the time when some of the left were beginning to leave the Union. And the Oxford University Students' Union was attracting the left, who said this is a public school club and nothing to do with us. I had the advantage, if you like, of a time when there was some of the talent on the left wasn't in competition, which made it easier for me. But if you look at the famous picture of when the Queen came, you can see some distinguished left-wing presences still there, I'm happy to say. On the left, a friend of mine, Trevor Pateman, who became a distinguished writer and Don. There was various people who became journalists, centre-left. There was Edwina Cohen, later known as Edwina Currie. By far the most important person, apart from Her Majesty the Queen and the Chancellor, Harold Macmillan, in that photograph, is Montek Singh, who became a really important world figure in finance and ran the Indian economy for years. I do remember the motion for the presidential debate. I was a strong believer in the by then dying tradition that people should be able to speak on either side of a debate, that we weren't really being a mini House of Commons. We were learning to debate. And in the old days, I mean, not in my day, the president could call on someone to speak and say, you will now speak on this side of the motion and you will speak on that side. And you had to have your wits about you and make a speech. So Tony Bird and I, who were both conservatives, both of a reasonably moderate kind, I think, tossed a coin, and we spoke on either side of a motion about abolishing the armed forces. I think I proposed the abolition of the armed forces, not because I really believed in it, but because the presidential debate, particularly the presidential debate between friends, was a sort of fairly jokey occasion. But I'm quite proud of that in a way, because I think that tradition is an important one to try and maintain, to actually train people in the skills of debating and forget about being an imitation House of Commons just for a moment and learn how to debate, which means you should, like a good lawyer, be willing to take either side of the case and defend your client. I don't think free democratic society can last unless people understand that at its heart is the concept of discussion and argument and refutation. After all, that comes before democracy, because we had juries and the law with people discussing whether people should hang or not, and not just accepting the word of the king, but discussing it long before we had representative democracy. So it's at the heart of our kind of society is the idea that you argue within limits of loyalty to the ultimate nation, the ultimate society, that you argue and put your case. Without that, we're in real trouble. And of course, we all know it's a cliche almost to say, but the danger of the algorithm-driven social media is that it sorts people into opposing groups who never contact each other at all, just regard each other as the enemy. And the essence of making a community and of any kind is discussion. The great Oxford historian Keith Thomas has written one of his immensely important books about what makes a civil society, and this is at the heart of it. So institutions like the Oxford Union are very important. We should be helping people to debate in schools, all kinds of schools, and we should be helping people to debate at university, all kinds of universities, and throughout their lives, understanding the point, the essential point, that it is possible to disagree without going to war with each other.